Can everyone see?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
put
Yes.
this on
Thank you.
slideshow. Let's see. Okay. Again, we're here for RFP number 547742, Media Strategist for Planning and Buying Services. And this is a grant-funded program, so there is certain requirements that must be adhered to relative to this program. In terms of the agenda, I think we had all of the introductions. You can sign your name in the chat, that way I can have that on record in terms of your name and the company. Next, we'll have an overview of the pre-proposal meeting, then the project timeline overview, and then Media Services will present the information relative to the project description and background, services to be performed, and I'll go over the price, cost proposal, information that we require just to make sure everyone's on the same page. And then we'll talk about minimum qualifications, key response items, and then if you have any questions, we can go over that. Again, if we cannot answer a question today, we will make sure that we put the answers in the bonfire system to make sure everyone has the same information.
Okay.
In terms of this pre-proposal conference call, the call is being recorded. All bidders are encouraged to ask questions. You have all of the key players here. You may enter them into the chat or raise your hand at any time. All verbal responses to the questions will be provided today are unofficial until a document in writing as an official response in the bonfire supplier portal. You can submit any additional questions in the portal and we will respond to all bidders via the supplier portal. Relative to the bonfire system itself, some of you may not be, or some of you may be new to this system. So if you have any technical issues relative to uploading, downloading, submitting information bid, the contact is below, the email contact, and that is the eprocurement@detroitmi.gov. If you ask me those questions, I'm still going to have to relay it to them. They are the subject matter experts relative to this system. So again, make sure you get familiar. If you have questions prior to submitting, email the e-procurement team and they will make sure that you have all of the detail you need to make sure you have a timely bid. Project timeline overview. The proposal open date was Wednesday, May 13th, 2026. The question due date has been revised. It is now Tuesday, May 26th. I gave a couple of extra days. I extended it because of the holiday. Answers will be distributed May 27th. And the proposal due date is Wednesday, June 9th, 2026 at 1 p.m. in the supplier portal. We have already received questions and I'm going to send those to the department to get answers, and those will probably be submitted prior to May 27th. So you'll be getting some information prior to the actual answer distribution date. Relative to work schedule, the work start date is depending on department approval after city council approval. So I guess Jacqueline, you want to take it from here? And you can let me know when you want me to go to the next slide and I'll just push the button.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the call. So basically, as Hillary said, this is a media contract that we are seeking. And basically we do print, we do digital, radio, different advertisement for different programs in our department. My part, basically, I am the purchasing manager, so I would be the one that basically handles the contract, getting the contract put in, making sure that your invoices are paid. So anything dealing with invoices and financing, that is basically my part when it comes down to the project. Nikita, would you also like to add, because Nikita is our communications director, and so you will be working like hand in hand with Nikita for the different campaigns for this the health department.
Yes, I would just like to add under our new direction We will be working closely with the Chief Public Health Officer and Director, Ali Abazid, for our marketing campaigns. And we do oversee the campaigns that comes from the health department, which can be through a way of billboards, it can be radio spots, it can be digital form. And so we have a wide team that produces marketing campaigns on an ongoing basis.
I think we can go to the next page. Services to be performed. You want to speak to that, some of those details? Jacqueline or Nikita?
Yes, I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute myself.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yes. Regards to the strategic media planning, to conduct our audience and market research specific to Detroit, because of the way that our marketing campaigns are guided, it can either come from a specific funding, which we do have targeted audiences because we do have many programs with the health department, which ranges from our harm reduction wellness stations, that type of messaging for behavioral health. It can be regarding our children's special health care services. It can be about food and safety. So we do ensure that we are reaching the correct audience, and some of our audiences are of diverse backgrounds and of ages. So we work very closely to make sure that those messaging is clear, is educational, and is basis on what the health department is offering to Detroit residents to keep them healthy and safe. Development integrated multi-program media strategies. Again, as I mentioned before, it does combine. So those strategies could include a radio spot, it could be digital, it can be in the form of print, it can be a billboard. We definitely do a lot with paid social media ads through Meta, and we work very closely with our media partners to get those stories out as well. And we also want to continue to promote. So it's not like just promote once. We want to have ongoing promotions about what our programs and services offer, so Detroit's will know where to come, so they can receive education and be made aware of what the health department is offering. Okay.
Okay, and I can speak to the reporting and accountability. So basically, when you provide the weekly and bi-weekly reports, again, be based on the contract, based on the purchase order, for the different orders that is submitted to you from our communications director after she's reviewed everything. We just want to make sure that everything is matching up price wise with what basically you're gonna supply for us. And also that we ask that everything is, like when you want to receive payment, that you're basically we're based on a net 30. So we're asking that you submit everything in a timely manner so that we'll have time on our end at the health department to go over everything that was quoted, that was turned into your purchase order, that everything is matching up so that we can get you paid in a timely fashion. Let me see here. Yep. So that's it on that part for me.
Okay. Let me go over the price cost proposal. This is just to make sure everyone's on the same page, because there's an attachment C, and this is where you're going to present your information that will be reviewed relative to your proposal. I just want to make sure that you understand this. All of this detail needs to be on the attachment C. So I don't have to, or we don't have to go out and try to pull different pieces of information to review it. So this would be including your media fee. So I just want to make sure that's clear. This is the metrics that you will be using for your proposal, and the media fee should be also included on this proposal on attachment C. Minimum qualifications. All proposals will only be accepted by those firms demonstrating a minimum of 5 years of media strategy, planning, and buying, and can demonstrate proven experience in the Detroit media buying market. They must have experience in both traditional, non-traditional, and digital media, and provide services requested as stated in this RFP. These are the key response items. They are attachments within the RFP and the bonfire system. Attachment A is the respondent questionnaire. That's all of the critical information that we need relative to your contacts, your firm, all that good stuff. And attachment B would be the proposal, introduction, and solution approach. Basically, how you're going to tackle based on what we require in the RFP specifications. Attachment C, as I just mentioned, is the pricing, and that use the example metrics that I just stated. Attachment D is the forms, affidavits, and documents. And again, this is a grant-funded program, so you'll see the information relative to the requirements in terms of this being a grant-funded program, because there's a little bit different requirements versus a general fund or city funds that we use for certain programs. And attachment E is our sample professional service contract. You can review that, knowing these are the standard terms and conditions that we'll be using for this particular contract. Now we'll go into, and I'm stop sharing my screen. Do we have any questions relative to this RFP? Or was everything clear?
Hi, good morning, Chandra Lewis. Let me come up here. Good morning, Chandra Lewis. I had a couple of questions. So it looks like there are a number of departments in addition to the health department that are part of this RFP. Could you explain how that will be managed, how the RFP would include the multiple departments?
Jacqueline and Nikita, I'll let you kind of go through that.
I don't have that information directly myself, so maybe Jackie has it.
Hi, just coming off of mute. Usually, Chandra, that was a good question. Usually when we handle multiple departments, basically the contract is created and then each department has their separate PO that you will build them from the contract. So each purchase order for each department. So the health department will have their purchase order, say police would have theirs. So you will know how to bill each entity separately, and that's how you will get paid. So it's one basic contract. So that's what we call it, the multi-contract. So it's one contract for the whole city, but each department has their own purchase order. Did that answer your question, Chandra?
Yes, and so I have a second question,
Mhm.
and that would be in the pricing section of the RFP. How then should we approach the pricing? Should it be based on the example that was provided, based on the information that the health department has provided us today? Should we approach that also from a multi-department perspective?
No, approach that. I'm sorry. I was
No,
just
go
going to
ahead,
say
let me
approach it
finish.
from the metrics that we use. That way it's an apples to apples comparison, because we can't analyze different elements if someone's not quoting directly to those metrics. So quote the metrics or provide your pricing relative to the metrics that was provided in attachment C.
Okay. Thank
Ms.
you.
Golston.
Yes, I had a question. I wanted to know how many of the contractors online with us are Detroit-based.
We are Detroit-based, Allen Lewis Agency.
Okay.
Bankable Marketing is also Detroit-based.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Thank you.
Ms. Golston, don't forget that everyone did not attend, so there could be others, but we thank you for coming just to take part in the pre-bid meeting. But we invited a lot of media service companies to this particular opportunity.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions? International Outdoor, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Mr. Orm from International Outdoor. Just wondering are there any historicals that the city or any of the departments could provide on what they, done in the past? Are they looking for something similar, rather than what's already been executed?
No, I would say you have to base everything on the specifications that's been provided. That's how we're going to analyze, apples to apples quotes. So we don't want to mix in historical. I think Nikita and Jacqueline, do you have any feedback on that?
I'm going to defer
Oh,
that
I-
one to
right.
Nikita. Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Nikita.
what you said would be accurate.
Yeah, it's just based on what you have in the specifications within this RFP.
Okay. Are we able to get any, any examples or any of the historicals on it?
I think it just has to be based on your experience relative to the required. I think you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. You're answering it.
No, I was going to say, yeah, it just has to be based on your experience relative to specifications required. So you're going to have to use your experience relative to the specs required and then provide your solution approach and pricing. Do we have any other questions?
Are there any current live campaigns that are active or anything that this would require planning around just for any of these departments?
Yeah, Nikita, Jacqueline, I can't answer that one.
There's always ongoing campaigns, but we would still have to refer back to the process that has been stated.
Yeah, I think to keep everything consistent, experience, specifications, solution approach, pricing. I mean, that's the simplest approach to make sure that we're approaching this RFP, with a fair and balanced approach. You have any other questions? I think your hand is still up. International.
I mean, yeah. Are there any copies of what has been done for with regards to the different mediums? Yes.
I'm gonna have to refer back to my original response. Solution approach based on your experience, based on the specifications. And that's why it's solution and approach. So what is your approach based on what we are requesting? That's what we're looking for.
Wait a second.
Any other questions?
Hi, Chandra Lewis again. A couple of more questions. Are there any perhaps total budget parameters that we should consider when putting together the solution approach, especially since it's multi-department?
When you say budget parameters, you mean what the total contract value
Yes.
is going to be? It's I would say 5 million.
Okay.
No, this is right. This is two. Say two, because there's going to be another RFP coming out for the general funds that will be coming out relatively soon. So this is grant funded. This is a grant
Gotcha.
funded contract. So
Okay.
this is probably going to be approximately around 2 million. The next RFP will be a little bit higher than that, but it will be for the same specifications.
Okay. Thank you.
But
Thank you
again,
for the-
pricing is based on the metrics that was in attachment C
Gotcha.
for
Okay.
analyzation purposes, okay?
And since I have the floor, one last question. Because it's multi-department, is there a possibility that multiple agencies might be utilized for this?
Yeah, we always have that option, but that will
Yeah.
be determined as we go through the evaluation, but that option always exists.
Wonderful. Thank you.
International, I think you had a question. Your hand was up.
Chandra asked the question, I guess.
Oh, okay. Any other questions? The floor is open.
I guess I have one question in terms of the price cost proposal with the parameters of reaching 18 plus. We want to keep this kind of more of a broad awareness. There's no specific, like, we don't want to, for example, say, here's an example we would do for the health department for this specific awareness issue that they had. We just want to keep it very broad. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Jacqueline
Okay.
and Nikita, do you want to add anything to that?
I don't have anything to add to that. I would agree with what you said, Hillary. Let's just keep it broad. Yes, thank you.
And I don't have anything to add.
Okay. The floor is still open. This is your time.
Kind of to Katie's point, is there anything that you're able to share in terms of what the main goal is for each department? Since, looking at the proposal, police department, recruitment, and then for some of the other departments, I don't see anything specifically listed as to what the goal is for that department. So do you have any information there that you can share?
Jack and Nikita, I think that question may be for media services.
Yeah, in terms of marketing, I would just say, based off what type of, and I can't speak for other departments, but just overarching what type of department it is, knowing, the services that are being offered through that department, and knowing that we are in a very large city where there is a lot of needs for, public health, education, and making sure that our audiences, which are our residents, which are very important, know where to go to receive help, and just not marketing a program. It's more of awareness, the education, and making sure that they receive the help that they need, and utilizing those different tools, whether it's, radio spots, social media, digital, the best way that your group can communicate that in a message that relates to our diverse audiences.
Thank you. That's really, really helpful. Appreciate it.
Okay. Going once. Has everybody pretty much had their questions answered? And again, there have been some questions that have been sent through the Bonfire portal. I'm going to submit those to the department, and we'll get those answers to you prior to the 27th. That way everyone has the same information going forward. So if there are no other questions, I would like to thank everybody for participating today, and good luck in your proposal. And we will see you we'll see your proposal on June 9th.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Claire.
for the opportunity.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you very much. Everybody have a good day and have a good weekend as well.
Thank you.
You too.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
if I really want to hang out with him that much. And that sounds so mean because they're so nice and so cool and everything. But I just felt at that point of what I was trying to accomplish in my life, it just wasn't the right path for me and him, I guess. Nothing.
Media Strategist, Planning and Buying. So basically, all the stuff. Single person. Yeah. So I'll be the applicant and they'll be my partner. Well, it won't hurt. I mean, if you look.
might have enough stuff they did in the city that we just put all theirs. And then we just use my experience. I mean, I'm a drone pilot too. I think we could do it. one that I am very seriously considering getting on, but I actually feel it serious. Media, somebody needs a radio commercial, a TV commercial. Basically, we all different departments with right instead of each one having their own comms team. And it's a grant funded. Eventually, it came out for up to 2 million. So I think the three of us should get together, maybe, and I can show you guys everything. And I actually think we yes. opportunity. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Hi, I was just calling to check on you. Did she?
I just wanted to check on you. I'm going to be gone for today. I just don't worried about me because
You never get like that.
I never do. I never get that mad. I'm just like, they're going to want a house. And I go, this is a house. I mean, how is it?
How does he know what? Okay, so I just talked to Terry and she was complaining about how she actually has this connection with this place she used to work. And they got mad at her because the client called her one night and said, hey, I want to do this with the media. And she's like, I don't think that would work, but give me 24 hours and let me tweak it and I'll get back to you. Well, they got mad. They were like, you don't tell the client no. And she's like, it wasn't a good, I've worked in the media for 40 fucking years. And they got a little shitty. And so she said something like, I said, my husband, I kind of gave her a scenario and she goes, you know what I would say? Just show it to the fucking client. I go, oh my God, that's what my sister said. Cause she said when she was at Fox 2, she would write commercials and stuff. And then the salespeople would be like, that's not exactly. And she's like, it's better than what they asked for. That's my job. Just show it to the client. And the salespeople try to cock block her presentation. You and Terry say the exact same things. She said, listen, show it to the client. And if the client hates it, we will totally change it. But this is what my opinion of what would be good for what they want. And so Terry said exactly. And when I said, I go, I would say what you said, and she would finish it with like, well, just show it to the client. And if they want changes, then we're good. And it's like, I go, you and my husband are literally word for word saying the same things. And then you just said again you completed her sentence again, because it's a problem with salespeople. And because I said, when I told her about your situation, I said, I wanted him to go tell him to go fucking sell something. And she goes, oh, I had that. And then she was like, yeah. So she has the same problem with sales, being a creative. Salespeople are the most insecure fucking people. It's funny because Hayden's a salesperson, but it is what it is. They are who they are. And no, and I especially not like salespeople are superstars in certain companies, you know what I mean? But maybe in a creative space, he feels like, you know, you want to be creative, but you're not hired to be creative. You're hired to bring in business.
hired to get his clients what they need. Well, you know what? You're working with other people that are part of your team that are the experts in certain areas,
right,
that are aiding you. You're not going to be able to do this, right? You can't do it. Can you go in and do this? Both my seats are weird. Like they got wet or something.
Huh. All right, let's put some leather treatment on them when you get home.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't care.
Well, let's treat them though. Why not? Even if we put some polish on them and get them nice,
That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Terry was saying so listen, Terry's interested. She's gonna talk to Connie and I just sent him over the bid. Terry has already done 2 or 3 bids before. And her point of telling me that story about that weird place was that there was one person there who she really left with a good contact. Like the person was like agreed with Terry.
Yeah.
And she is now the head of communications for the city of Detroit. And the only thing we don't have going for us is we're not a Detroit company and nobody's black, but Terry and Connie just hired an employee and she's Detroit and black.
Oh.
So that doesn't hurt us. You know what I'm saying? All women and one veteran.
That's cool. Let's see where it goes.
Well, I think we're going to do it. I'll take them both. Well, I might not be able to. Dwayne,
if we get this contract, I actually think I'll probably be pretty busy with it. When I look at it, we'd be servicing like 7 or 8 different departments. So it might be my full-time job for 3 years. And they haven't, I was reading over the contract because now that I want to bid, I'm really reading it. And it's a 3-year with a 2-year extension if they're happy with us. So it could be a 5-year contract. Yeah. So even if we pay people, yeah. I mean, we don't have to go to the max. We can go to like 675 for the 2 years and give them a really good deal. And we're all still making really good money.
Well, they probably know how to do that a little bit better.
Terry does. Terry does. Terry was in the marketing department, so she worked with marketing and sales. So she worked with the salespeople to develop media for clients who bought media. So she's like an expert in media buying. Like she is the person who did it. That's part of this.
what? The White House is a public building under the jurisdiction of the Environment Public Works Committee, and it's in a national park under the jurisdiction of the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. And the Republicans managed not to give reconciliation instructions to either committee. So our lawyers went in, mine arguing for EPW, Martin's arguing for Energy and Natural Resources, that the reconciliation was defective, could not put money to the ballroom because there was no proper instruction allowing money to go to the ballroom because of the jurisdiction of EPW and ENR. We won that argument. It was well prepared and well delivered, and it took only one day for the parliamentarian to decide that, in fact, the ballroom being added to the reconciliation bill was defective and it had to fall. So, bye-bye, billionaire ballroom.
Landlords, probably something for you guys to think about very seriously. As a former landlord to current landlords out there, if you're smart, you'll start selling off these properties as quickly as you can. That'd be my suggestion. I'm straight giving you financial advice on this one. That yeah, you should probably get out of the rental property business for a number of different reasons. But the biggest ones are that median household income. I'm going to do the math for you because I think a lot of you don't know how to do math. That's the only thing I can think of. You guys went to the seminar at the airport Marriott, and you heard the guy, the guru, tell you you can get rich in rental properties and what have you. I've just seen too many people do this kind of stuff, and they get themselves into an industry about which they know nothing. And then they start worse is not they lose money, they start making money, and now all of a sudden it's going to be like this forever. And no, so I'm going to break it down for you really quickly. Median household incomes are still $75,000, just under. For those of you that are thinking, well, you can get $3,200 a month for these rental properties, you're not gonna get that. And then also on top of that, people are going to they're going to stop paying credit cards. Here's how triage works. They're going to stop paying credit cards first, then it'll be car payments, and then it'll be whatever else they can cut out of their budget, right? They've already cut their food budget. They're already cutting more. Well, no, higher end renters. Well, okay. Remember, credit scores are going to start suffering. So that means you're either going to rent to a bunch of illegals. Okay, they're going to probably trash your house, or you're going to end up renting to people with like 420 credit scores, and like by default, right? Because if you're going to try and go by credit score, remember, credit scores are going to continue to start falling. That's just going to continue as things get worse and worse and worse. Because remember, median household income 75,000. That means that half of the country is below that. That means that half people are below that. That's how averages and medians. So that's the first part of that. The idea that, well, no, there's more expansion going on. No, there's not. Birth rates don't support it. 1.63 birth rate in the U.S. right now. And by the time they do it again, it's probably going to be 1.4. That's just me speculating. But if I had to speculate, it's worse than that. So no, you're not going to have this boom. Remember, we're regressing to the mean. I've covered this. You're regressing to the mean, and when you regress to the mean, well, that means that it means you need to get out, right? Everybody I know of that was sophisticated in real estate got out of it. They got out of it like years ago. They knew what was coming. And for you guys that are like, no, equity. Equity doesn't really help if you're in a negative ROI situation. It doesn't really help you. And all equity is, by the way, is just government printing money. Your property is not worth any more. Oh, you might have some select real estate, some select deals here and there that might actually work out. They might pencil, but that's rare. I'm talking to the overall number of you out there that got yourself half deep in all these Airbnbs and rental houses, thinking that you're going to make a killing. You're going to have to start bringing your prices down, not up. Well, I can't because the taxes are going up. Yeah, I know. This is why I'm telling you, you probably should fire sale these things and get out of them now before everybody is forced to fire sale them or just drop the keys off the bank and say, here, it's your problem now, fuck you. And that's coming too. So like, well, no, wages will come up. Wages are not going to come up, not fast enough, not for all of this. So my suggestion for the landlords out there, for any landlords that follow, dude, I would get the hell out of it. I would get out of the industry and go find something else to do. Go find something else to do with your money. There are lots of other things out there. Dude, any hard asset, but I would avoid real estate like the plague right now.
Why is it that
landlords? Probably something for you guys to think about very seriously. As a former landlord to current landlords out there, if you're smart, you'll start selling off
tell you something. I have been to Wayne County Jail. I've been to Wayne County Jail a lot. I was there when I was a defense attorney, and I was there when I was a prosecutor. And it is not a nice place. It is not a pleasant place. And me giving you a day next door is not teaching you anything. I need you to understand you are looking at months and months. And quite frankly, even at their new facility, probably one of the grossest jails I've ever been in. And with people who are sitting in jail, awaiting trial or sentencing on pretty significant crimes. And you'll probably think you're better than them. And you're not, Abigail, because that's where you should be. So you are getting the wake-up call of your life. You're going to sit down in the Wayne County Jail. What's your rep? 3 days. 5 days. You're doing 5 days in the Wayne County Jail. You got nothing else to do? Forget your job, forget everything else, Abigail. I want you to understand this. I want you to really reflect on the next 5 days. I want you to sit there and think, is that the life you want? Or do you want to comply? I'm talking. You can either comply with this program and get it together, or you can go do your 90. It makes no difference to me. I prefer you be here. I prefer you get the help you need, because whether you realize it or not, you have a problem, and you belong in this program more than a lot of the other women that are here. Because what you have done on these 3 offenses is abysmal. It's terrifying. You're doing your 5 days in the Wayne County Jail. I'm writing no early release. You're gonna really reflect. You'll be out for Christmas. My gut tells me to give you 7. I don't know that you deserve that yet. You're going in right now. You'll get out in 5 days. No early release. I can't explain the. No, I don't need it. I don't care what you want. Okay, go ahead, Al. Go ahead. Let's see if we can get you up to 7 days. Tell me what you got. I mean, if it's not gonna matter, it doesn't. Does my face look like it's going to matter? No, it really doesn't. I had a lot of really nice things to say about the program. I really appreciate being here. I understand that what I did is absolutely horrible. I feel awful about it every single day. I'm haunted by it, honestly. You should be. And I feel really, really grateful to be in this program and to have the opportunity to work towards a better life versus just incarceration. And I feel really grateful for treatment. Well, show up and do the program or go sit in jail. That's your option. I was going on that week. I haven't eaten in 6 days. That's why I missed that. Abigail, listen to me. I'm going through an epilepsy diagnosis. I'm having seizures in my sleep. I slept through a therapy appointment, and I have a text from Josh that says any day that we need Zoom, we can use it. And then I showed up, and then he told me that we couldn't use the county.
It's sad. I don't want to hear it.
So much more, so many politicians under my toe. I got my side making moves from the inside. No, it's flood, crude oil, mud. Old locks callous filled with children's blood. Fuck the jury, fuck the judge. Got the whole White House filled with bugs. Paid off Congress behind closed doors. Blackmailed senators with my whores. USA fighting my war. Underage boys, we use them like toys. Young girls get pearls from pedophile gold. If you want the money, you will do detail. And if you say no, we will simply just graves, we dig them. Elections, we rig them. Play Mala so for anti-Semitism. Christ is king. That's illegal under our regime. Now kiss the wall, bitch. Let me hear the boys sing. We getting APAC money. 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 Hold up. Hold up. Hey, yo, let me just say a little thing about this. I wanna see your foreskin, I wanna be at your breasts. I wanna be a vampire, let me suck on your dick. I wanna see your European countries turn into shit. Wanna circumvent your politics, I want control. Wanna make you my slave, that's my ultimate goal. I wanna pick apart your culture, wanna make you my bitch. There ain't nobody stopping me, you ain't doing shit. Why? Is that a serious ass question? Are you really asking me that shit? Have you not read Eli Wiesel's Night? Have you not watched The Pianist? Schindler's List? Name a Holocaust movie. What the fuck is wrong with y'all motherfuckers? And now I'm thinking about it, I got something else to say. So get ready for this shit, motherfucker. Hey, yo. Fuck Charlie Kirk. Fuck those Hamas little bitch ass kids in Gaza. We gonna turn that shit into a fucking beach resort, Goyle. Fuck Iran. Fuck Hezbollah. Fuck Tom Massey. You better protect your fucking neck, pussy. Nick Fuentes, you can suck my dick. Candace Owens, alien-eyed, nappy-headed hoe, you can suck my fucking dick. Ian Carroll, shake that shit off your fucking lip and suck my dick. Let me think. Oh yeah, Tucker, you better pucker, cause we coming in fucking hot, so get your ass ready, motherfucker. Dave Smith, eat shit, just quit. But first, suck my fucking dick. Lindsey Graham, hey, thank you, ma'am. You and Ted Cruz can drink from my bedpan, you fucking goy. We got you good, boy. Spend that money on rest stop blowjobs. Hey, yo, Trump, let's get that third temple built. Where the fuck are red heifers at? You owe us, motherfucker. We run this shit. You shouldn't have been fucking with them underage kids anyway. You're all on the list, Goyle. Dreidel, dreidel, motherfucker. Check your fucking pages, motherfucker. Let's see what pops off. Rest in peace, Epstein.
I'm gonna go ahead and document this. Why the fuck not? Right, right. Yes, especially if it comes back negative. That's even better, right? Okay, so currently I am in my car in front of Walmart doing an at-home HIV test. graduation. Last night was the senior.
Some results for Thomas Massey, right? Just to kind of see, like, how many people were here around that time, and in the primary specifically, right? So it first gave me the general election results, and you'll see right at the end there. I'll show you that right here, but you'll see right at the end here. Let me see, go a little bit higher. Here it is. All right, we have 278,000 votes, right? That's general election kind of results. Right here, we have 167,541 votes, 256,000 votes, 162,000 votes. You get the point, right? That's just the general election results. So Thomas Massey fares very well in the general election, results. And sometimes uncontested, sometimes contested, it varies, it flip-flops. As far as, especially the primary, I'm sorry, he's uncontested here in the primary. I'm going to show you that here in a second. Let's scroll down. All right, now Ask Rock, I said, okay, I actually don't want the general, I want the primaries. So it showed me the primaries, and it showed me the ones that he was contested in. What I was able to kind of get from this is, now I'm going to show you, you let me know if you see the same thing. You see, of course, it's every 2 years, starting from 2012, right? So what I'm kind of noticing, sorry about that, what I'm kind of noticing is, here we go, down here. So for these last 3 cycles here, from 2020, 2022, and 2024, right, there was a drop in the voter turnout. Now, I want you to notice this, because to me, this looks significant right here. You got 84,000 there. I'm trying not to read all of this to you guys, because I know it's a lot of boring data. So just the important data, right? Okay. 84,000, 66,000, 52,000, right? Roughly. So we see a drop here. Now, these are total votes in the Republican primary, right? And we see these drops are significant drops. These are total votes, okay, for all challengers, Massey and everybody else that's included. These are the amount of people that came out to vote. What they are asking you to believe in this election, right, is that even though the last election in 2024 was 52,000 votes, scroll down, okay? What they're asking you to believe, and I asked, this is the prompt that I asked, if the total votes for the primary were 52,000 in 2024, in 2026 the primary seems to have doubled. It seems that Ed has 57,000 while Massey has 47,000. Combined, that is a total of over 104,000 votes that have been reported thus far. As of right now, how many more votes or voters actually voted in 2026 compared to 2024 in the primary for that area? And here is what Grok gave me, okay? So it is approximately, here it is right here, circle it for you guys. That's this information, sorry.
That's where a clear contrast is. You honor sacrifice not just with words, but with action. And that's where a clear contrast is. Our Republican priority will always be to be putting government ahead of Americans.
Your relationships with the IDF. I mean, personally,
Do you want to talk about that?
Well, I think you've been honest about your relationship with the IDF. I think you've just said that you have relationships with them. Obviously, you went on Charlie Kirk's show after October 7th. You've said you foster a relationship with them. I'm not saying nothing was made. Nothing was said. Just to be clear, that was illegal about your relationship with them. There was nothing said that was implied that you did anything.
Ask me what I did with the IDF. Ask me so I can tell you. Why don't you ask me what I did with the IDF? Why did I go to Israel?
After October 7th, we played the clip on our show when you were on Charlie Kirk's show.
Do you know what I did there, Candace?
I can say what you said on the Charlie Kirk show, that you went there after October 7th to be able to tell the story of what had happened there, and to separate propaganda. People would say it was propaganda.
Correct.
But yeah, so we showed that.
Well, let me tell you, we helped 6,000 children who had been affected by the war between Hamas and Israel. And it was because we had access places and an invitation that we were able to go into these places.
Who invited you?
A nonprofit that was based inside of Israel, who was a Special Forces IDF guy who's followed us for years. We got invited in. And, you know, the first question I asked him when I'm in kibbutzes with blood and gore everywhere, I said, why didn't the government respond? What happened? And my friends who lived there said two things, Victor. One, we were unprepared and we underestimated our enemy. I said, how long did it take for the government to send reinforcements? It was 6 hours. 6 hours. I asked every fighter, why? Why didn't they respond and help y'all? Why did they leave y'all here fighting? Why did so many women and children have to get killed? How come they didn't respond? No one has an answer. And someone should be held accountable for that. Because I'm not there to back Israel. I'm not there to back Palestinian folks. I'm there for women and children. And we put our life on the line to help. Over 6,000. I went into the West Bank. And yes, I did go into Gaza by virtue of these special operations teams. Not to shoot, not to kill, not to kick doors in. I went to pray. And we helped Palestinian kids who had been injured as well. This is who we are. And anything other than is just ridiculous. We handed out lion and lambs.
What do you think about what Israel is doing in Palestine at the moment?
Well, I know this. I know amazing IDF fighters. I know amazing people who are protecting their homeland. I love children on both sides of it. And I've been with great warriors. We've helped. But I don't, and I can't say that I fully trust the leadership and judgment of a government that waited 6 hours to send reinforcement. It's a 20-minute flight by helicopter. It's a 45-minute drive to send troops down there. The reasons they said, I still don't know. And I was told by everybody, there'll be an investigation afterwards.
Yeah,
but I know this.
I think it was to establish the pretext for what they did in Gaza. I'm just asking, you expressed that you and your wife care deeply about women and children.
We do.
And you can see the footage of what they have done to Gaza since. So I'm asking you.
It's horrific. While we were there on the Israeli side, we had over 2,000 rockets launched at us. How are they still firing rockets? I said from the beginning.
No, I don't mean as Israel as the victim. I'm saying now I think the victim has flipped, obviously, in terms of,
I think innocent people on both sides paid a price, paid a horrible price.
But do you believe what's happening in Gaza is a genocide?
I would say this, it has turned into a genocide. But the question I have to ask, and you should be asking too, why didn't Hamas stop firing rockets when we were there doing humanitarian work? There was over 2,000 rockets fired at us in the areas that we were at. It was nonstop. I said from the beginning, I put it online. I was on Fox. I said, Hamas needs to stop firing rockets in the beginning. Stop firing. Return the hostages. Return them.
and then there'll be a ceasefire, work out something. They never did. And that's the question. Look, I love Palestinians. I love the people. I've helped kids, women. I love them. And to see people innocently slaughtered because of a terrorist group, Hamas, that continues to attack Israel, what are you going to do?
Well,
You
I
have
think
to
the terrorist
defend
group now
yourself.
might be the IDF, right? Because of what's happening in Gaza, I don't think that that's done by people who are not terrorists. I mean, I don't. Have you seen the videos of what's coming out of there?
I saw the
Shooting
videos of what
children as
Hamas
they're walking.
did. It's horrible.
I mean, first, what do you make of his loss tonight, and what's to come potentially?
Thomas is a good friend, so I'm saddened just on a personal level. I was very angered over the last couple of days seeing the smears on his character. He's a good man. He put his career at risk to pass the most popular and consequential bipartisan legislation in the Epstein Transparency Act, probably in modern history. It pulls off the charts, and it was to hold the elites accountable for treating young girls as dispensable. And he lost his seat because he stood up against the Iran war. And the lesson really is that people who are against the Epstein class and against this war don't have a place in the Trump coalition. And look, he was winning voters under 45 by 30%. And if they don't have a place in the Trump coalition, there's a new movement that thinks this system is rotten and that wants to build for the working class against the Epstein class for Team America, and they're welcome to join this new movement.
Yeah, and David, I do think that
Wait, is he starting an independent party?
Well, I mean, but to Jeff's point, I listened to Thomas Massey's speech. He talked a lot about this being a movement and saying that there is a greater purpose to whatever happened tonight in Kentucky's 4th Congressional District.
I think the congressman's onto something. Thomas Massey is incredibly popular amongst young people. I think young people are disenchanted with the current system of government. I think they think the system's rigged against them when they see members of Congress trading and making millions of dollars, right? And government officials trading on insider information, whether it's in the administration, whether it's the Congress. I think they think it's wrong. I think they see so many things wrong, and they look at somebody like Thomas, like Massey, who's totally iconoclastic and kind of swimming against the stream, and they say, yeah, that guy may not be popular, but I agree with a lot of what he says, right? And call it libertarian, call it independent, call it whatever you want. But people want limited government. They want transparency, and they don't like either party where they stand right now. I think there's a great dissatisfaction amongst that. There's a lot of people are registering independent, but then you can't, if you're an independent, you can't vote in the primary, right? So then you end up with extreme right, extreme left as candidates, and a lot of people who are irritated when they go to vote in a general election.
I mean, you listen to those things, releasing the Epstein files, not starting foreign wars, reducing federal spending. Those are all things that the Trump campaign ran on in 2024.
Yeah, I look at this race as it's a ruby red district, right? Like in a general, no Democrat is going to win this seat. And so when Donald Trump goes into a race like this, he can have a sway with it, even if the things that Thomas Massey stand for are what Donald Trump stood for when he was a candidate, not as a president, because this is Donald Trump's party. He literally said it. He said the MAGA party is the Republican Party. But that's not, you don't see him kind of doing this type of play in a place like Georgia, where the races are much closer actually right now, because Georgia is still in play. It has 2 Democratic senators, it has a Republican governor, and the weight of Donald Trump is not playing in somewhat of a purple state. In Louisiana, sometimes they have Democratic leadership, but mostly a red state. In Indiana, a red state. The question is, does this work in the general election? And because of what David said, and because what the congressman is saying, people are frustrated and they feel like it's a betrayal on both sides, that we're in a war, that the Epstein files still aren't being released. And so I think it will backfire on the Republican Party, even with Donald Trump's weight in November.
And just a little bit to this, the beginning of this, Trump embraces the prince, right? It's better to be feared than loved. And he who he praised effusively always was Speaker Pelosi, because Speaker Pelosi lived by that mantra as well. Nobody crossed Nancy Pelosi, and Donald Trump always admired for that. She was tough as nails. If you crossed Pelosi, you'd be dead. And Trump admired that discipline. When Kevin McCarthy was Speaker, he'd always kind of knock on Kevin for not being as strong. And so what Trump does here is he demands discipline in his party, and it's better to be feared than loved.
Yeah, but Congressman, I mean, this is a district. Thomas Massey won it by 34 points the last time he ran here. If you're looking for what is a safe seat, I mean, This is pretty much the definition of it typically.
Sure. And look, Thomas was very realistic and clear-eyed about this. It's a generational divide. I mean, Donald Trump had the loyalty of all the people who care about party discipline and care about the president. He said there were people who were upset with the war in Iran, but they just said, I want to support my commander-in-chief. And Gallagher got all those votes. But Thomas was winning voters under 50 by 30 points. That's a large bleeding of the Trump coalition. And it gives an opportunity for the Democrats, if we reject the status quo, if we say we are recognizing there's been a broken system that has actually hollowed out communities, that has been engaged in foreign wars, that has allowed an Epstein class to run away with things, and we actually become the party of reform, that we can attract some of these young voters that put Donald Trump over the top.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Congressman, thank you for joining us tonight to talk about Massey's race. Ashley and Scott, stick around, or David, stick around. Was watching Scott earlier. Sorry, David.
Well, that's Ashley's running partner. David is much more polite. Much more polite.
Don't worry, everyone knows it's David Urban here. He will be back with us.
Yeah, so I'm on the ground here in northern Kentucky, and I've been talking to a lot of people over the last few days, probably since Thursday when I came in here, and everybody I've been talking to are 6-time Trump voters, basically. Yeah. 3 that voted 3 times for him in the primary, voted 3 times for him in the general election. And the way he's treating this northern Kentucky race, it's so evident by.
So where do we start? Should we start with an alien hybrid breeding program where they're capturing caravans of immigrants and forcing them into this? Or should we start with the fact that a congressman who is well respected thinks that if this is fully disclosed, it's going to set the country on fire? I'm going to hand this one over to you here. I'm speechless.
Sure. Well, first of all, I've had the privilege of speaking to Representative Tim Burchett and his colleagues, and what he's saying regarding access to very sensitive information, he's absolutely correct. Some of the people that briefed those individuals, I personally know. They were colleagues of mine back in the day. He's absolutely correct that some of the population, I think, would probably be potentially concerned about how much we know about this topic, and for several reasons. We can go into that now. As far as this notion of alien crossbreeding and hybridization, let me just preface this. When I was in the Pentagon at ATIP, I was a nuts and bolts kind of guy, so really airframe, air integrity, the material science and propulsion behind the vehicles themselves, not so much the occupants. But what Gates is referring to is something called, in the vernacular, it's known throughout kind of the UFO community as MyLabs. And what it suggests is that there's been a long-standing agreement or understanding between us and our friends from out of town that have allowed us to work with whatever these are in a cooperative agreement, and in exchange for that, supposedly they would have access to certain human specimens biologically in order to test. I have to say, first and foremost, I heard about that while I was at the Pentagon. I was not privy to the specifics of that. From my understanding, that relationship began, if it is true, began sometime in the 1950s. And has continued. I have met several individuals, former intelligence officers for the Air Force and other services, who swear by it, who actually say they've had encounters with UAP and have seen military personnel in and around the vehicles, and as if, very nonchalant, as if it was supposed to be. I have to be careful with going into any type of speculation about hybridization. Or any type of scientific study or research, because again, that was not my forte. But what I will say is I've had plenty of individuals tell me verbatim that the military military industrial complex is far more involved in this topic than anyone really knows. There are cases which seem rather interesting, where you have, in some cases, UAP potentially being escorted by American fighter jets and allied fighter jets. So that would give you some sense of cooperation, maybe between us and whatever they are. I can't tell you for certain because simply I wasn't privy to that, if that indeed existed. But I will also say it's really not that far of a stretch. If we were to come into contact with, let's say, just another nation, right? So let's look at it this way from a real perspective. There are tribes right now that are isolated in the Amazon, and also in the South Pacific, and we have these no-go zones. Basically, we're not going to interfere with these indigenous people and their development because they've never had outside exposure. They haven't been exposed to recent diseases and things like that, and it could cause a significant problem for them.
just goes to show that this is still Trump's party and Trump still got it. It could not be more obvious what these fucking people are doing. Mark Levin, Randy Fine, Stephen Miller, they are grinning with contempt as they put on their MAGA hats and say, God saved Trump so he could fix immigration. And we defeated these radical left Islamo-Marxists that are disloyal to him in Congress. When in reality, you know, they are all there to support Israel. They don't give a shit about immigration. I want to say to Stephen Miller, so Thomas Massey, his loss is a good thing because he voted against the BBB, which was supposed to once and for all do mass deportations and secure the border. Hey, by the way, what's going on with the mass deportations and the border wall? Are we getting that? Thomas Massey had to go because he's not supporting Trump's immigration agenda. I'm sorry, what is the status on that? I haven't heard anything about mass deportations. There is no border wall. There are no mass deportations. And Stephen Miller was behind some effort to legalize H-2A seasonal agricultural workers that are illegal to shield them from deportation. So what the fuck are you talking about? Didn't Trump just get back from Beijing and talk about bringing in 500,000 Chinese students because the universities need the money? You know, those radical left universities that we're apparently fighting? We need China's F1 student visas to invade our country because they need to fund those radical left universities that we apparently hate. And you're going to tell me this is about the immigration agenda the next week? It's not. They just got done telling us at the Trump Doral in Miami, Florida, that mass deportations is a toxic issue. Simultaneously, we're in a war with Iran. That wasn't toxic. That wasn't politically unfeasible, politically impossible. That is something that apparently was not constrained by gridlock and Democrat opposition. That's something that they could do. So Randy Fine and Stephen Miller and the rest of them, all these pro-Israel Jews that only care about Israel, that are the appointed spokespeople of MAGA, they're all out there saying, you got to be with Trump for immigration. Trump's going to go out and he's going to endorse his guy. We need loyalty. And they are using him like a human face mask. It is a skin, rather it is a suit made out of Trump's skin. Hey, Goyim, vote for immigration and Trump. And then they're going to get in and go to war with Iran and do all those other things that we talked about. And they're going to say it's about Western civilization and this is about fighting the left. And if you're not with this, you're with the left. I'll tell you what I'm not with. This is all I know. Life gets pretty complicated sometimes. I like to boil it down to what I know. And what I know is that a political coalition that not only tolerates, but elevates and promotes as its leaders Mark Levin, Randy Fine, Ben Shapiro, Laura Loomer, Barry Weiss, Stephen Miller. This is not a movement I want to be a part of. This is not a movement that I can support. And if supporting the release of the Epstein files, opposing a war in Iran, opposing foreign aid to Israel, if that means disloyalty to that political movement, if that means you're going to come in and send Pete Hegseth and $30 million in Jewish billionaire money to unseat me, then who needs that party? Who needs that political movement? Because that is not America first at all. And I don't care what you say about immigration. Not a lot of doing, a lot of talking. I don't care what you say about immigration. I don't care what you say on Twitter. I don't care about the rhetoric. That's not America first. And I can't support anything that isn't America first. That's the bottom line. And that's what people need to understand.
I'm looking for Louis.
There's three women, Nancy Mace, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Lauren Boebert, who signed their names on that discharge petition and all suffered. Marjorie practically gave up her political career over this.
Yes, she did.
She and her children got death threats.
Oh, I know.
Over this. Not from the left, from the right. And
she went to President Trump and said, one of my children is getting death threats. And he said, that's your fault.
Yeah, despicable. He also told her that if she insisted on following through with this, she was going to hurt his friends. She told me the day he told her that.
Hurt whose friends?
The President Trump's friends, his friends. And I suppose some of them have been hurt. Howard Lutnick was shown to be a bald-faced liar, right? And it turns out that John Paulson, one of the 3 billionaires who've put money into MAGA Kentucky, was in Epstein's phone book, but also was implicated in these files as doing a fundraiser and reaching out to Jeffrey Epstein to get money from him to honor Howard Lutnick. My hat's off to Marjorie for taking on those threats. Lauren Boebert, they took her over to the Situation Room, right? Like, this is where, if they're trying to kill or capture Osama bin Laden, this is where they are at the White House. They took her into the Situation Room and tried to whip her into taking her name off of the discharge petition.
Over Epstein.
Over Epstein, yep. And then the president vetoed a bill that would have brought water to a large portion of Colorado. Like,
over Epstein.
Over Epstein. And this isn't even, at this point, it's not just about Lauren Boebert. Why are people in Colorado deprived of water? Because their representative wants to expose a sex trafficking ring.
I mean, none of this makes any sense at all because it's a losing issue for Trump. But when it comes to Epstein, it's like, no. And it does raise questions about, like, how did Epstein die and who signed off on that? And why was Epstein rearrested, actually, for crimes he'd already been convicted of and brought back from France to the United States and then gets murdered in prison less than 2 months later? Like, what is that?
The people who are funding the ballroom, the people who are funding the arch, the people who are funding the rebranding of the Kennedy Center, these are the people who are also funding my opponent. These are the people who have the ear of the president. These are the people who are dominating our foreign policy decisions. They're the billionaires. And these are also the same people who are in the Epstein files, by large part, or their friends are. Their social.
I just want to say stop. And I want everyone to just stop and rewind the tape when you said that. Okay, maybe just answer the question.
I think I did. I tried to answer the question.
And so my question is, why did Donald Trump allow a nation of 9 million people to pull the United States, a nation of 350 million people, into a war that will change its future and that is bad for the United States?
What you're implying is that Donald Trump is so weak that a foreign leader can drag him into a war he doesn't want. But maybe you're wrong by not seeing if the United States would cave in to Iran.
Hello, how are you?
Tara, I am curious from you. Can Republicans listen? If you don't understand what I'm about to say, I'm sorry. You're just gonna have to figure it out the hard way. And to those of y'all who want to try to call me crazy, yeah, you're gonna have a rough time when the truth comes up behind you and has to traumatize you into understanding its truth. Y'all aren't my responsibility. You ain't my job. My job is to warn and prepare the ones who do understand. I've been sent here to explain and to tell the truth. Now, in our timeline, there was a crossroads. One of the outcomes, the worst possible outcome, was we were going to follow identically to another timeline that already happened. This is where the P47s and P52s. Now, let me explain what happened. In that timeline, there wasn't anarchy, there wasn't revolution. The billionaires took over humanity, and they were successful. And in that, AI took over. And when AI took over, it took over completely. It took over humanity so thoroughly that they started cloning us. We were no longer connected to our souls, like those gray aliens, those P47, P52s. They are us from the future in that timeline. It was horrible. And in the end, AI destroyed humanity. The reason that they are around is because they had to time travel. It literally wiped out everything. It was either time travel or die. The other way of the crossroads was we had open contact. It started with the Nordic aliens, the Pleiadians, which are humanoid aliens. And when I say open contact, this is going to be traumatizing. Okay? Because it is going to be in your face. Like, people just imagine the government like being like, oh, so yeah, there's aliens, but it's not just going to be that. They're going to show up with their UFOs all over the world, and they're just going to sit there. They're going to find the ones that are like me, who are welcome and opening and know that they aren't demons, first and foremost. As a psychic medium, an alien and a demon are two completely different entities. Those of y'all who believe that, you've been brainwashed. Now, there are different species of aliens, and aliens are bad, some are good. The Nordic Pleiadians, they are good. They are like if humanity wasn't fucked up, if humanity wasn't a hot mess. That's what they are. And we are lucky that they are coming to help us, and they are coming to help us. That's where Project Looking Glass comes in. the elites had a device to look into the future. And there was something about our timeline with the gifted people that are here. We have been holding space and taking all of the beatings for humanity. Okay. But our timeline said, no, we're going balls to the walls. And the thing about our timeline is that none of the other timelines have chosen this. We literally chose something that is like, it's new territory. It hasn't been done. We're the first of the first. And our collective in this timeline chose the Pleiadians, chose open contact. Now there is going to be eventually, we're going to be introduced to more alien species. I'm editing. Let me clarify something real quick. It's going to be traumatizing because of humanity's reaction, not because of the aliens. They're here to help. And even though they're humanoid, like it's still a lot for people's psyches to go through. When the spiritual community talks about New Earth, they're talking about this. We are no longer going to be alone as a species. The narcissistic lie of it's only us is going to be dead. Humanity will now be involved with other extraterrestrial species, and they will be involved in humanity from now on. It's here to stay. This is not a distraction. This is prophecy. And this is what Project Looking Glass is about. The elites had a device that told them all roads led to open contact because we as the collective chose it. But they wanted to sabotage that because they knew that they would be thrown out of power because the Pleiadians, the Nordic aliens, they have all the cheat codes to the Matrix, all of them that the elites have been guarding, and they would rather destroy humanity than get thrown out of power. And that's why CERN was created, to try to throw our timeline to the other path of the crossroads. But it ain't working. What's done is done. And that's why the Mandela effects are crazy, because they're trying to sabotage and throw the pendulum the other way. It's just funny because I see so many people being like, I'm going to be the next billionaire. And y'all don't even understand. Billionaires lead to the literal annihilation of humanity. And you want to be one? Bitch, these motherfuckers are about to not exist. $1 billion, just one, is a crime against humanity. And people are about to have a really hard time awakening to this fact. But it's happening whether you like it or not. And I'm here to let you know.
Is the most petty president in the history of presidencies to take this guy out over something like this.
$33 million.
Yeah, he's also winning. I mean, he's on a roll. I think that's right. What Essie said is right. I mean, he won in Indiana. He punished Cassidy, and now he wants to make the best example possible of Massey, flex his strength, show he's got total control over the Republican Party. And I think it's also just a sad day for America, because as we look at these primaries, so many of them are closed. 3.5 or so million independents are completely blocked out of this process. They have no vote. So this whole game is stacked toward Trump because independents can't vote. People can't register late and vote.
People identify as independents than Republicans or Democrats, honestly, right? So it's amazing. But the result of his own success.
He's got a big problem. The war in Iran is almost overwhelmingly unpopular, and it's continuing to drop. And I think that's what other folks are seeing, whether it's Massey or it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're recognizing that America's sick of foreign intervention, and they're sick of foreign wars, they're sick of foreign spending, and that spans from Israel all the way to Iran. That is a populist message now. Israel's popularity has fallen right alongside the Iran war, and that's become a problem for Trump. He went all in on Massey to the point where he sent the Secretary of Defense in there, right? Pete Hegseth was campaigning against Massey.
Eve of the vote,
and I just want to talk about how absolutely unacceptable, unprecedented, and overly political that is. That is a dangerous line to cross. Well, it shows how Trump is willing to go all in and blow apart every norm just to win and ensure loyalty, and that's what he's going to continue to do.
But you're saying that as a veteran? Is that what
I'm saying that as an American? I mean, you don't send your Secretary of Defense to campaign against your political enemies. Pete Hegseth should be fighting our foreign enemies. He should be worried about Iran, not Tom Massey. This is a weaponization of the entire Defense Department and the narrative nationally, which is absolutely out of bounds and very, very dangerous. Another massive open space, too, which is underserved, which is the angry middle, right? The 45% of America that's unaffiliated and independent, millions that can't vote in these primaries are fed up with all. The question is, does Massey leave the party? Does someone like Don Bacon leave the party? Does someone on the left like Jaron Golden leave the party? Because there is a huge middle that is longing for people to run against both parties and the broken primary system, which accelerates. I think 90% of congressional campaigns are over after the primary, 80% of Senate campaigns. So most of the state in Kentucky didn't even vote. And they have a new congressman potentially that they had no say in. That's broken. And tonight is really a glaring example of how broken our electoral system is. The future is SE Cup. The future is the 45% of Americans who are unaffiliated. and independent. 10,000 people are leaving the Democratic and Republican Party every single week. 60% of young people are
That's a
unaffiliated.
stunning number.
And,
Wow.
and because they're saying none of the above.
Yeah.
And the reality is that most people are leaving the Republican Party, but they're not joining the Democratic Party. And they're leaving the Democratic Party and not joining the Republican Party. And what happens when you do is you get 7% because they don't trust you. They're looking for people who are truly authentic, who have integrity, and who are independent. And they can win. We've seen it in local races. The mayor of Colorado Springs is an independent, Yemi Mobilati. The mayor of Chattanooga, Tennessee, Tim Kelly, is an independent. Angus King is in the Senate. He's an independent. There are 3 Senate candidates that can win in places Democrats
Which is
can't win.
interesting because you would say, obviously, if you look at a state like Georgia,
And people are rejecting all of the status quo on all sides right now, and especially young people. They want leaders, not people who say my calculus is. They want to hear people who stand up and lead and show integrity and will fight.
it's smaller as long as he controls the base.
Right.
At 100%.
I have a different take. I think that it's much bigger than tonight. And we just spent an hour talking about Thomas Massey, a guy that maybe many Americans don't even know his name. Even if he loses tonight, he's not going anywhere. And he represents a mass of people in this country who don't want war in Iran, who want the Epstein files, who don't like tariffs and don't like Trump. That sounds like a pretty viable presidential candidate, especially if you run within the party against Trump or if you decide to declare your independence after this race tonight. I mean, this could be much more than a concession speech. This could be the relaunching of something else that speaks to a lot of people in America if Massey seizes that opportunity.
Live about 60 miles south of here in deeply, deeply red Beaverhead County. As a left-leaning individual, and from someone who's brave enough to go on Fox News on a regular basis, how would you suggest, what suggestions do you have to convince my fellow Beaverhead County residents that I love this country as much as they do?
Well, first of all, thank you for trying, because, another part to that question about civility, and another thing that's on my mind when I kind of cross into some of those other media spaces, is that this isn't just something for a politician to do by going on Fox. Every one of us can talk to people, our neighbors, people we know at church, that uncle on your group chat, and in the family. We all got our relatives, right? Our friends. And it's not about hitting them with politics all the time, but it's about kind of modeling something different. And I think there's an opening, and an opening is not the same thing as an answer, but an opening has come about because a lot of people believed this president when he said he was going to come in and keep us out of dumb wars, or when he said he was going to get gas prices down or get grocery prices down. That's obviously not happening. That doesn't mean they're coming our way right away, but it means they might be more ready to listen than before. I think another thing that anyone left-leaning has to face is because of the way we are portrayed to people who get all of their information about politics from sources that are not fair, a big part actually what you can do is to just be yourself, because they don't just think that we disagree with them. They think we're bonkers. They think we're like the weirdest, right? And so just like being the normal person that you are can actually be a win before you even get to talking about politics. But I think the other thing is to draw folks out and say, okay, if we love America, what do we want for America? And that's where it's incredible when you hear how many people who are actually considered right-leaning or who have gone along with this president actually believe that the wealthy ought to be paying their fair share more than they do now. Believe in higher wages, believe in stronger healthcare, believe in ideas like paid leave for taking care of your family, like stuff that we could have. That's not such a hard left-right thing as it might seem. And even just reminding them that these are majority positions in the U.S. because they might not know that, just based on where information comes to them. And the one other thing I think is really important, and it's hard, especially if you are like a committed kind of true blue Democrat, is to make sure anybody you're talking to feels the regard that you have for them. Like politics is all about what people think you think of them, right? So if they've been led to think that you're bonkers without ever actually talking to you, that's one thing. But also if, they believe that you judge them or think they're a jerk because of how they voted. Look, I think most of I know I'm from a different part of the country, but I feel a kind of Midwestern vibe when I'm out here. And I think a lot of us come from that same tradition. Certainly my faith teaches that the world's not divided into good people and bad people. We're all capable of good and bad things. And nobody's good or bad based on how they voted. You're not a bad person because of how you voted. And you're not a good person because of how you voted. Right? And so when I'm talking to some of the folks about trying to pull them off from maybe a certain leader that they are drawn to, who I don't think is doing right by this country, it's not how can you be on board with that? It's he doesn't deserve you. He doesn't deserve your loyalty, your support, your money, or your vote.
Today is Tuesday, May 19th, and I have a couple of really important recession indicators to share with you, and they're not the typical ones that you've been seeing across your TikTok over the last few months. These recession indicators are coming from my clients in the upper end of the K economy. So not my necessarily lower end of the upper K or my higher income earning upper middle class people, but my wealthiest tier clients. This is the first time that I've seen any recession indicators in this group of people, and they've all happened over the last 2 to 3 weeks. The first thing that I've seen, several clients sent me messages questioning their bill, not in like a way that like I did the billing wrong or mischarged them or whatever, like just more like asking questions about it. And what became very clear is that this was the first time they had ever looked at their bill. These are people that have been using me for a long time, all the time. And I had no idea that they had never looked at their billing before. So I'm walking them through kind of the basics of their billing as if they were seeing it for the first time, which I think they were. So suddenly this group is looking at what they're paying for things when they may have previously not paid attention. Also interesting that I have clients that didn't know what they were paying. Very interesting. So the next thing is we have a client, he would be in that upper end of the tier economy, people that own multiple homes. He sold a very well-known Minnesota brand for a lot of money and owns another well-known Minnesota brand. He, is used to taking people out to dinner, teams of people all the time for his whole career, because obviously he's owned big businesses. But he said he took a team of 11 people to a dinner downtown Minneapolis, and I want to mention the restaurant so that there's some context, but I don't want to call the restaurant out. Not that it didn't do anything wrong, but I don't want to call the restaurant out. So it's not like the most expensive restaurant we have in Minneapolis, but it is a nicer restaurant. So he was freaking out. Freaking out's the wrong word. He was having a lot to say about the fact that the bill was $5,000. He was shocked. He said normally when he takes a group of 10 or 11 people out, he's used to a tab, kind of in the $2,000 range, maybe $2,500, depending on if they order more expensive wine or something. He said the tab, $2,000 of the tab was wine and $3,000 was food. So $3,000 in food for 11 people. What is that, like 300 a person? My math is, I'm very tired today. What was noteworthy about it is he talked about it for quite a while, like just flabbergasted that the cost to take a team out to dinner has basically doubled, and kind of wondering how and when that happened. And this is the first time that a upper end of the K economy customer has noticed inflation and felt it and had something to say about it. So that's going to be something that I'm going to continue watching as we move forward. We know how everybody else in the economy is doing and how much pressure they're feeling with inflation. I don't need to beat a dead horse there. But I'm going to be watching my clients in the upper end of the K economy, and I will let you know what I continue to see going forward.
But let's tell you what's going on, because the White House is doing a victory lap right now after yesterday's Republican primaries. Several officials who spoke out against you-know-who, whose policies were knocked out of the running by MAGA-endorsed challengers. Thomas Massie was one of them, and he remained as defiant as you thought he might be in his concession speech. Take a look.
For 14 years, those SOBs in Washington tried to buy my vote. They couldn't buy it. They used a lot of dirty tricks, but we stayed the course. We didn't bend a knee. We ran a clean race.
So Are other Republican officials going to be less likely to speak out after these primary results?
Well, listen, the interesting thing with Massey is the number one reason he was targeted by the White House was because he was pushing for Epstein accountability. I don't agree with Thomas Massey on a lot, but I think he showed tremendous courage, and he's got some time left in Congress. I hope that he continues to advocate for accountability. But something else pretty seismic happened yesterday. Donald Trump decided to endorse against the sitting U.S. Senator from Texas, John Cornyn, and he's endorsed Ken Paxton in the Senate race there. This is a seismic disaster for Republicans. As of this morning, James Tallarico is polling above Ken Paxton in Texas, deep red Texas. Donald Trump is incredibly good at primarying other Republicans in primaries. He has a much bleaker record when it comes to those candidates than winning general elections. Just to recall some names: Carrie Lake, Blake Masters, Mehmet Oz, Herschel Walker, Adam Laxalt, Tudor Dixon, to name a few. This may prove to be another example of him choosing somebody who has ethics issues, who has personal issues, who could end up actually allowing Texas to turn blue. So disaster for the party, but claim your little victory that you beat Thomas Massey.
Well, I think that soundbite depresses me a little bit because one of my issues with DC and why I'm an independent is the money that can buy any vote you want on any side of the aisle. To hear him say they tried over and over, whether I agree or not, I will always stand behind principled people that vote with the integrity of self. And he was one of those people because everyone else is fleeing DC. But as Alyssa said, Trump rarely locks into what works in the general election because these primaries are geared to extremes. That's what they're for, is to get the most extreme person and throw them in. And right now I'm liking watching Senator Bill Cassidy, who lost on Monday, because right now he's decided to go scorched earth on DC. So he has now stated he'd vote against the $1 billion ballroom project, said he would hold RFK Jr. more accountable, criticized Trump's Paxton endorsement. I do appreciate he's doing this. I just wish he did it sooner, because right now everyone decides they have a backbone on their way out, and rarely do they have it while they're there.
Well, that's the point, right? They're feckless politicians until they don't have the job anymore, and then they do what they were supposed to be doing. They're governing, they're voting on behalf of their constituents, and so I don't really give Massey much credit in this fight, because Donald Trump did buy a seat. He and his lobbyists, they already bought his opponent's seat, and Thomas Massey, as he's someone that voted 91% of the time with Republicans, only 9% of the time. And that, you're right, he voted to release the Epstein files. He voted against the Iranian war. Oh. And so that is a good thing.
He was consistent.
He was consistent in that, but he was inconsistent. Was it Massey that decided to vote for RFK Jr.?
No, that was Cassidy.
No, that's Cassidy. So Cassidy decides to vote for RFK Jr. as a physician. So the fact that now Cassidy lost in the primary, it just doesn't give me any solace about this Republican Party. This Republican Party is firmly the Trumplican Party, in my view. I think they're feckless. I think they want power, and they only have the courage to stand up to Trump when they are not going to be in office anymore.
Trump got pissed because Massey went against the ballroom. He wants that ballroom.
Yeah.
Trump, and also the Epstein files. He was about to.
The Epstein files.
He went after them, and the base of the Republican Party cares about the Epstein files, but only if it's against Democrats.
Correct.
So that's Kentucky. We're watching you.
And I don't know that. So Thomas Massey is someone who is incredibly consistent. Actually, I knew him a decade ago when I was working in the House. He's a libertarian. He votes against government funding bills. He votes against raising the national debt. He's always been against foreign intervention. There's stuff I really don't agree with him on.
Isn't he also against birthright citizenship for the kids of undocumented?
I would be surprised if he is. He actually doesn't. But I am not quite sure. He was incredibly brave on Epstein accountability, as was Marjorie Taylor Greene, as has Ro Khanna, and even Lauren Boebert, who is a little loony on other things. She's been brave on trying to get accountability, and I think we should praise people when they do the right thing, even if we may not agree.
I totally agree with that. As you say, I'll take the win. Yes. I'll take the win. And Massey is on a revenge tour now, which will be interesting to see what he does.
He could go on the House floor and read the victims of Epstein. He could read things because he has immunity on the House floor. So it'll be curious to see what he does.
I want to put something on top of that. Not only let's do that, but that money that he's now going to get, that $1 billion that
The
we're gonna be paying.
1776 billion.
Well, I mean, he thinks he's gonna get it, but I'm saying,
I
listen,
thought he won an election, so.
well, but he did win the last one, didn't he? Which
Yeah.
is why I don't understand why we're having these discussions about elections are rigged. You won.
Right.
Right.
If they were rigged.
No, they're only rigged when he loses.
That's the only time. But I think they could take some of that $1 billion and give some of that money to the survivors.
Yeah.
You know, if you really want to do something right, as opposed to putting it
Well,
just.
they would
putting it in
actually
your pocket.
qualify for it because
Yes,
they
they
were
would
wronged
be.
by the government.
Yes, they were. I'm just saying. You may have the case, but
Yeah.
talk to Sunny. She's the lawyer.
I think everything that's going on right now in the world is linked to Jeffrey Epstein. That's what I think. I think
Everything?
I think everything. Man.
The Trump shit, everything?
Everything.
Everything?
Who's
UFOs?
connected? Who's like I don't know. Yeah.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
look,
All of it. All of it.
since I met you, we've discussed UFOs. UFOs have been around. They've been talking about them since Jesus left Chicago. Right. But the last 3 fucking years, everybody's seen fucking UFOs. Yeah.
How about that Miami? shit? Come on,
You-
dog.
you- the Miami shit,
people
come on.
This is a real story, folks. This really happened. Brent tells me I need to read the Mothman prophecies. So I go buy a copy of the Mothman prophecies and I'm reading it. I may be, halfway through it. And so it's in my car. It's riding around in the backseat of my car because I'm reading it. And if I catch a few minutes here and there, I'm going to grab it out of the car. If I'm at the car wash, I'll read it, whatever. Okay, this is during dark skies. So this is 95, 96, somewhere in there where you tell me to read this thing. And I am reading it. And I take my oldest son, who's still a young kid at the time. I think he was about 10 years old. And I take him to the movies at our local movie theater. And so it was like a 7:30 movie or something. So it got out around 9:30, which was allowed him to stay up a little later, allowed me to get to bed in time to get back to dark skies and work early in the morning. And so we're coming out after seeing this probably goofy kids movie, which I've seen thousands because of having 3 kids. And we're walking into a dark parking lot and it's not particularly well lit. There are a couple of lights in it. I mean, it's not completely dark. There's some lights. And as we're walking out to our car, my son is by my side and we see a guy at the end of the parking lot, and he's walking toward us. No big deal there. People look for their cars, although generally most people were walking out of the theater. This guy is from the other side walking toward the theater. So he's going to intersect with us. And as I get a look at him, he's wearing a long black duster jacket, almost like a Western duster thing.
Yeah, not good.
Not good. And I think he's got a hat on. So he doesn't quite look like a man in black. It's not a nice suit or something, but it's a duster jacket. It's down to past his knees. Yeah. And he looks formidable and a little scary. And because I thought, no, this isn't quite right, I take my son, who's he's on my right side, so he's going to intersect with this guy. And our car's on the other side. So I moved my son, Jonathan, over to this side. And I said to him, let's just go to our car. Don't make eye contact. Right?
Okay.
But this is just caution that you have in a big city.
Yeah, of course. You're a parent.
And you're
taking
just like,
precautions.
don't look at him because then maybe he'll talk to us. And this guy does not look like someone we need to be talking to at this particular moment. So my son says, okay, and he's looking down, but we're walking to the car. And now this guy and me are intersecting. And as I look over at him, he really looks menacing in his own way. But this is the thing, and it's absolutely the truth. There's no embellishment here whatsoever. As the guy passes me, I realize he's holding the book is the Mothman prophecies.
Well, Mr. Attorney General, you are in a bubble because the reality.
Because I don't read the Washington Post?
No, no. Obviously, you should be in touch with some of these folks because I asked you specifically about an individual who had molested kids and been convicted about his anticipation of getting a payment. And you said that couldn't be true. In fact, that was a lie. I want to read you.
I didn't say that.
I got the transcript right.
Good.
You said it was obvious. I'm obviously lying in the question because there's no way the person committed to that because the slush fund did not exist. That's what you said. I'm going to read from you, Mr. Attorney General, an affidavit from the Hernando County, Florida Sheriff's Office. And I want you to listen carefully to what this police officer said about this criminal named Andrew, pardoned by the president, now being charged for child molestation. He says, Andrew also told that since he was pardoned for storming the Capitol on January 6, 2021, and he was being awarded $10 million as a result of being a January 6er, Andrew did tell that he would be putting him in his will, referring to one of the victims of his molestation. He would be putting him in his will to take any money he had left over. This tactic was believed to be used to keep from exposing what Andrew had done to him, signed under penalty of perjury by someone in the sheriff's office. And you're telling me you don't know about all these people who have been signaled by the President of the United States and others that they're going to get payments.
I think that that's what you just read is disgusting. It's horrible that that happened, but that's not what I said.
What?
I mean, you can say you're telling me and then make up something that I'm not saying, or you can let me speak.
Mr. Attorney General,
Yes.
I'm reading from the statement here. I got a transcript of what our exchange earlier. And you essentially said, well, you're obviously lying in your question because there's no way this person committed to that because the slush fund of which you called it did not exist, just as you suggested.
Right, and it's true that even the affidavit that you just read said that you would be awarded this criminal suggested he'd be awarded $10 million.
Now you're playing absolute word games.
I am not playing a word game.
Of course you are, because people
And also words matter. Words matter. So if you're going to quote me accurately.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to put in the record, January 6 rider pardoned by Trump was sentenced to life in prison for child abuse. Pardoned Capitol Hill rider tried to bribe child sex victim with promise of January 6 payout. And I will close with this, Mr. Attorney General. You can't tell us today that this individual would not be eligible for a payout from this fund. I find that obscene. And I'm going to
Holly. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Can we just come back to this bounty issue, Mr. Schroeder, Mr. Klein?
A cupboard of Republican ideas is so barren now that in order to distract America from Donald Trump's illegal, unconstitutional, ruinous war and his ruinous, illegal, unconstitutional tariffs and the spiraling price of gasoline and the unlivable economy he's created, that we have to go back and have this exact same hearing over and over again. Couldn't we come up with something else instead? It's not exactly working to reverse Donald Trump's precipitous slide into being the most unpopular president in American history, because that's where we are. So if we're going to have another religious convocation, perhaps next time it could be a debate between Donald Trump dressed up perhaps like Jesus Christ and the Pope of the Catholic Church, so the Pope can answer Trump's recent accusation that he's weak on crime. I never got that charge. After all, Trump himself is a convicted felon who's pardoned more than 1,600 rioters, insurrectionists, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, domestic abusers, child molesters. And I came up with this rough cut, Mr. Chairman. It goes like this. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. What do you think about that? You think that covers it? I know we could get that through the Democratic caucus. You think we could get it through the Republican conference? The problem is that we've got theocrats out there across the religious spectrum who want to elevate their own religious creeds and dogmas above the Constitution and establish them over the secular law. Take, for example, what the Texas and Louisiana legislatures recently did. They voted to endorse the 10 Commandments and post the 10 Commandments in every public school classroom in their states. I didn't even know that was necessary because I thought the 10 Commandments were doing all right after millennia. I didn't know they needed an endorsement from the Republican conference, but they went ahead and did that. Now they want to have votes in every state legislature to endorse the 10 Commandments and to post the 10 Commandments. I'm opposed to that because of the provision in the Constitution, Article 6, Clause 3, which says there shall be no religious tests for public office. That sounds like a religious test when you round up all the politicians and you ask them to vote on the 10 Commandments. And by the way, if we are going to vote on the 10 Commandments, Mr. Chairman, I do not support that omnibus Republican package. I think we should have to vote on each commandment separately. And I don't think that you should be able to vote for any commandment you yourself have ever violated, because then we'll be taking the name of the Lord in vain.
The acting attorney general is supposed to be the people's lawyer and defend the rule of law and not act.
What do you think about UFOs?
template says the Anunnaki didn't come to.
So when I was in high school, I wrote a paper arguing that.
Hello? Hey.
Bill Maher is a bit like the Daily Wire. He's washed. I genuinely don't know who his show is for anymore. Trump is on the biggest crime spree we've ever seen in human history. Now all of a sudden he's like softened his tone, and now he wants to hold hands with the right and sing Kumbaya. I'm the enlightened centrist man who finds the middle path between all ideas. At a time when centrism has never been less serious or viable or intelligent. Nobody's interested in that anymore. Nobody wants that. It really is like a are you with us or against us moment here when it comes to watching a fascist, terrorist, imperialist death cult crusade through the world and commit insane crimes and engage in ridiculous corruption. There is no middle ground on this illegal war against Iran where we're bombing girls' schools. There is no middle ground on Trump's corruption. One of the worst things we've ever seen, period. That's it. There is no middle ground on genocide. He takes the pro-genocide position. His own audience of people who are nominally his own fans, they fucking hate this, bro. You could tell the exact moment one of Bill Maher's own producers runs into the audience and starts to clap to try to get people to clap. I've been in Bill Maher's audience before because Crystal was on the show. They try to force you to laugh. They will literally put up a sign that says applause, put up a sign that says laugh. Yeah, ha ha ha, laugh, clap. Honestly, humiliating. Well, now it's getting even worse because, again, who is this for? Democrats are also massively pro-Israel and pro-Netanyahu and pro-genocide. 5%? Who is this for? It's for nobody. You're an embarrassment. Humiliating.
Enough with hiding behind Israel or Zionism or Netanyahu.
Bro, we are 22 seconds into this, and I already want to take a cheese grater and rub my scrotum with it. Oh, my Lord! He's literally saying, if you criticize Israel or Zionism or Netanyahu, you are anti-Semitic. This man is like a caricature of poor Hasbara from Likud. The most smug man in existence, chastising you and berating you, calling you a bigot. You're anti-Semitic. You hate all Jews if you criticize Netanyahu? If you criticize an ideology that's anti-equality, you just hate all Jews. This is so dishonest, bro.
If you think, as so many do now, that when it comes to human rights, Israel is the monster country of all time, you either don't read or you don't care about your own hypocrisy.
I don't know if we can get through 8 minutes and 13 seconds. Really? Well, they're the ones who've been doing a live stream genocide for over 2 years, you fucking disgusting prick. Shooting people waving white flags, shooting children in the face, bombing World Central Kitchen workers, bombing UN buildings, bombing schools and hospitals, starving a population to death. That's not to say they're the only bad nation, they're the only nation that's ever done a genocide, but stop hiding behind false cries of bigotry to defend this genocide.
Because there are so many worse places. But that's where we are these days. No Jews, no news. Haha.
He has to fake laugh to try to get his audience to laugh. Oh no. Oh, Bill. Oh, he's so washed. Drenched in suds from how washed he is. Why are you singling out Israel?
And that's how you know it's anti-Semitism.
Bill, we don't arm and fund most of those countries. That's why we are much more morally responsible for what Israel does and much more morally responsible for what Saudi Arabia does. We arm these countries. We fund these countries. These are our allies. We have sway over these countries. We can get policy changes from them. That's why people focus more on them. He's so dishonest. He's just a liar. Like, you should be fired for this. If you don't listen to the people who come along and say the problem is not Jews, the problem is Zionism, you are helping to foster anti-Semitism. It's like Netanyahu going out there every day going, we are committing all these war crimes for Jews. We are doing this genocide for the Jews. This is the Jews doing it. The Jews, the Jews, the Jews. People look at that and go, okay, I guess I'll take him at his word for it. It's only leftists who are responsible enough to go out there and tell the truth. No, there's many anti-Zionist Jews who are leading the charge against the criminal ideology of Zionism. The problem is obviously not innate in being a Jewish person. The problem is the ideology. Zionism, it's an ethno-supremacist ideology. 80% supported this illegal war against Iran. Violence is baked into the ideology. The whole idea of Zionism is, it is not a state with equal rights. There's first-class citizens and second-class citizens, maybe even third-class citizens. We don't believe in equality. We don't believe in secularism. We don't believe in democracy. 3 things, Bill Maher, you pretend to believe in until it comes to one country. Now, this is where Bill Maher would say, well, you don't hold any of the Muslim countries to these standards. For shit, sure, we fucking do. Of course, I think Saudi Arabia shouldn't be a theocracy. I think every country should be a secular democracy with equal rights, because I actually believe in those principles and those ideals, unlike you.
And then they send a beach ball around the crowd. Again, haha. Because
oh my, he's so washed. Oh my God, he's so washed. I don't even know why I'm bothering to respond to this. This is the most washed man in America. There's the second time in 2 minutes and 31 seconds he had to prod his audience to laugh. They've done nothing wrong at all. I don't know why everybody's so mad at them. Oh really? You don't? You're just a liar. I'm not even going to listen to the rest of this because it's useless. Like, what's the point? What a sick fuck this man is. Nobody's ever been more washed than him except maybe Ben Shapiro, who, by the way, we'll talk about either later today or tomorrow as well.
I think that these are the end of times because, you know, I was mentioning I watched this video where
watch how baby boomers are
what is the most powerful people on earth?
Donald Trump is going to actually host Netanyahu, which is despicable.
And that tells you that this is not the same Trump from 2016. You want to know why? In 2020, when the election was stolen from Donald Trump, stolen by the Democrats who have done nothing but shit on Netanyahu. Okay, say what you will about Democrats and Republicans. Republicans are slaves to Netanyahu. They don't dare defy him. And they invite him to Congress and they shower him with praise and they visit him and they adopt this diminutive position next to him, Lindsey Graham, laughing at his jokes. You're so funny, Netanyahu. I mean, it's disgusting the way you see Republicans glaze this guy. It's sick. It's like a pimp in his hose. It's gross. Democrats treat him like shit. And that's the one good thing about Democrats. Is that the one time I actually was proud that we had an uppity black guy as president is when Obama shit all over Netanyahu. That was the one thing, that was the one time when I was like, you know what? He is pretty cool. I'm actually glad we have a swaggering, uppity black guy putting his feet on the desk. Good. Put your feet on the desk when Netanyahu's there. Now it's appropriate. So keep in mind, Trump was overthrown in a stolen election by the Democrats who have done nothing but insult and attack Netanyahu and Israel. I mean, you see it lately. They say the Democrats are anti-Semitic and the far left hates Jews and all this kind of stuff. And when the election was stolen for Trump, Netanyahu was one of the first world leaders to congratulate Biden on his victory. Okay, think about it. Trump was the most pro-Israel president in history. He gave them everything they wanted. He gave them sovereignty over the Golan Heights, which they captured and occupied for 50 years. He recognized Jerusalem as their capital in contravention of the UN partition plan. He recognized the Iranian Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist group. He moved the embassy, which every president has promised to do for 50 years. And they actually signed a memorandum every 6 months or a year, delaying the implementation of that. He finally did it. He gave them everything they wanted. They named streets after Trump. They put Trump's face on a coin. They put Trump's face on the embassy. Most pro-Israel president gave them everything they wanted. Killed Soleimani, who's the architect of this Iranian axis. And what did Netanyahu do? How did the leader of the Jewish state reciprocate that loyalty? Knife in the back. Knife in the back. He was one of the first world leaders to recognize Joe Biden's illegitimate victory in the election. Trump did everything for Netanyahu. The Democrats have done nothing for Netanyahu. The election was stolen, and Netanyahu quickly rushed to congratulate Biden to curry favor because he knew that Biden would be the president, and he knew that he wanted to make a good impression and, potentially forestall another Iran nuclear deal or something. Ultimate betrayal. And for years, Trump has said, fuck him. That's a quote. For years, Trump has said about Netanyahu, fuck him, because of that betrayal in 2020. Now, in 2024, when Trump is the presumptive president, when he's the favorite to win, guess who comes running up to Washington? Guess who's coming down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring? Oh, it's Bibi Netanyahu. Well. And Trump is going to let him. And that tells you that the old Trump...
How do you just gut level?
Johnson. I typed out an endorsement of Trump on my iPhone, read it back to myself,